Hey everybody, this is Jason from the Alliance Project, and here I got another work of Hermes, Thoth, Mercury, however you want to put it. There's a lot of names for the same person, so we're just going to go down and read it, okay? We went over the Kybalion. We're getting ready to go over them with tablets, with my interpretation of it, get really in-depth with them. But I figured I'd bring you this one first because most people don't know of it, and it's a really good one. It's a key work of his. So here we go. The Divine Pymander by Hermes Mercurius Trismegistes. His first book, Pymander, the Holy Sermon. These are just titles of these books. So, his first book. O my son, I write this first book, both for humanity's sake and for the piety towards God. For there can be no religion more true or just than to know the things that are, and to acknowledge thanks for all things, to him that made them, which thing I shall not cease to continually do. What then should a man do, O Father, to lead his life well, seeing that there is nothing here true? Be pious and religious, O my son, for he that doth so is the best and the highest philosopher, and without philosophy it is impossible ever to attain the height and exactness of piety or religion. But he that shall learn and study the things that are, and how they are ordered and governed, and by whom and for what cause, or to what end, will acknowledge thanks to the workman as to a good father, an excellent nurse, and a faithful steward. And he that gives thanks shall be pious or religious. And he that is religious shall know both where the truth is and what it is. And learning that, he will be yet more and more religious. For never, O son, shall or can that soul which, while it is in the body, lightens and lifts itself up to know and comprehend that which is good and true, slide back to the contrary. For it is infinitely enamored thereof, and forgetteth all evils. And when hath learned and known its father and progenitor, it can no more apostatize or depart from that good. And let this, O son, be the end of religion and piety, whereunto, when thou art once arrives, thou shalt both live well and die blessedly, with thy soul is not ignorant whether it must remain or fly back again. For this only, O son, is the way to the truth, which our progenitors traveled in, and by which, making their journey, they at the length attained to the good. It is a venerable way, and plain, but hard and difficult for the soul to go into this void. For first must it war against its own self, and after much strife and dissension it must overcome one part, for the contention is of one against two, whilst it flies away, and they strive to hold to detain it. But the victory of both is not like. For the one hasteth to that which is good, but the other is the neighbor to the living things that are evil. And that which is good desireth to be set at liberty, but the things that are evil love bondage and slavery. And if two parts be overcome, they become quiet, and they are content to accept of it as their ruler. But if one be overcome of the two, it has led them and carried to be punished by its being and continuance here. This is, O son, the guide and the way that leads thither, for thou must forsake the body before thy end, and get the victory in the contention of the strifeful life. And when thou hast overcome, return. But now, O my son, I will by heads run through the things that are. Understandest thou what I say, and remember what thou hearest. All things that are moved. Only that which is not is unmovable. Everybody is changeable. Not everybody is dissolvable. Some bodies are dissolvable. Every living thing is not mortal. Not every living thing is immortal. That which may be dissolved is also corruptible. That which abides always is unchangeable. That which is unchangeable is eternal. That which is always made is always corrupted. That which is made but once is never corrupted. Neither becomes any other thing. First God, secondly the world, thirdly man, the world of man, man for God. Of the soul, that part which is sensible is mortal, but the part which is reasonable is immortal. Every essence is immortal. Every essence is unchangeable. Everything that is double. None of these things that are stand still. None of these things that are stand still. Not all things are moved by a soul, but everything that is moved by a soul. Everything that suffers is sensible. Everything that is sensible suffereth. Everything that is sad rejoiceth also, and is a mortal living creature. Not everything that joyeth is also sad, but is an eternal living thing. Not everybody is sick. Everybody that is sick is dissolvable. The mind in God, reasoning or disputing or discerting in man, reason in the mind. The mind is void of suffering. No thing in a body true. All that is incorporeable is void of lying. Everything that is made is corruptible. Nothing good upon earth, nothing evil in heaven. God is good, man is evil. Good is voluntary, or of its own accord. Evil is involuntary or against its will. The God chooses good things as good things. Time is a divine thing. Law is humane. Malice is the nourishment of the world. Time is the corruption of man. Whatsoever is in heaven is unalterable. All upon earth is alterable. Nothing in heaven is servanted. Nothing upon earth is free. Nothing unknown in heaven. Nothing known on earth. The things upon earth communicate not with those in heaven. All things in heaven are unblameable. All things upon earth are subject to reprehension. That which is immortal is not mortal. That which is mortal is not immortal. That which is sown is not always begotten. That which is begotten always is sown. Of a dissolvable body there are two times, one from sowing to generation, one from generation to death. Of an everlasting body the time is only from the generation. Dissolvable bodies are increased and diminished. Dissolvable matter is altered into contraries, to wit, corruption and generation, but eternal matter into itself and its like. The generation of man is corruption. Corruption of man is the beginning of generation. That which offsprings begetteth another is itself an offspring or begotten by another. Of things that are, some bodies are in some bodies, some are in their ideas. Whatsoever things belong to operation or working are in the body. That which is immortal partakes not of which that is mortal. That which is mortal cometh not into a body immortal. That which is immortal cometh into that body that is mortal. Operations of workings are not carried upwards, but descends downwards. Things upon earth do nothing advantage those in the heaven, but all things in heaven do profit and advantage the things upon earth. Heaven is capable and a fit receptacle of everlasting bodies, and the earth of corruptible bodies. The earth is brutish, and heaven is reasonable or rational. Those things that are in heaven are subjected and placed under it, but the things on earth are placed upon it. Heaven is the first element. Providence is the divine order. Necessity is the minister or servant of providence. Fortune is the carriage or effect of that which is without order, the idol of operation, lying fantasy or opinion. What is God? The unmutable or the unalterable good. What is man? An unchangeable evil. If thou perfect remember these heeds, thou canst not forget those things which in more words I have largely expounded unto thee, for these are the contents of the abridgment of them. Avoid all conversation with the multitude of common people, for I would not have thee subject to envy, much less to be ridiculous unto the many. For the likes always take to itself that which is like, but unlike never agrees with the unlike. Such discourses are these of very few auditors, and peradventure very few will have, but they will have something peculiar unto themselves. They do rather sharpen, and what evil men to their maliciousness therefore is behoveth to avoid the multitude and take heed of them, and not understanding the virtue and power of these things that are said. How dost thou mean, O Father? Thus, O Son, the whole nature and composition of those living things called men is very prone to maliciousness, and it is very familiar. And as it was nourished with them, and therefore it is delighted with it. Now this wight, a creature, if it shall come to learn or know, the world was once made, and all things are done according to the providence of necessity, destiny, or fate, bearing rule over all. Will he not be much worse than himself, despising the whole because it was made? And if he may lay the cause of evil upon fate or destiny, he will never abstain from any evil work. Wherefore we must look warily to such kind of people, that being in ignorance, they may be less evil for fear of that which is hidden and kept secret. My thoughts being once seriously busied about the things that are, and my understanding lifted up, and my bodily senses being exceedingly holding back, as it is with them that they are heavy of sleep, by reason either of fullness of meat or of bodily labor. Methought I saw one of them exceeding great stature and an infinite greatness call me by my name and say unto me, what wouldest thou hear or see? Or what wouldest thou understand, to learn and know? Then I said, who art thou? I am, quoth he, Pymander, the mind of the great Lord, the most mighty and absolute emperor. I know that what wouldest have, and always having to present with thee. So this is essentially Thoth, Hermes, whatever you want to call him, having a talk with a vessel that is like from the all, like I guess talking to the mind of the infinite all, I guess literally talking to the source. Then I said, I would learn things that art and understand the nature of them and know God. How, said he, I understand that I would greatly hear. Then he gave me again in thy mind, and whatsoever wouldest I will teach thee. When he thus said, he was changed in his idea or form, and straightway in the twinkling of an eye all things were opened unto me. And I saw an infinite sight. All things were become light, both sweet and exceedingly pleasant, and I was wonderfully delighting in beholding it. But after a little while there was darkness made in part, corning down obliquely, fearful and hideous, which seemed unto me to be changed into a certain moist nature, unspeakably troubled, which yielded a smoke as of from fire, and from whence proceeded a voice unutterable, very mournful, but inarticulate, insomuch that it seemed to have come from the light. Then from that light a certain holy word joined itself unto nature, and out flew a pure and unmixed fire from the moist nature. Upward on high, it is exceedingly light and sharp, and operative withal. And the air, which was also light, followed the spirit and mounted up to the fire, from the earth and the water, insomuch that it seemed to hang and depend upon it. And the earth and the water stayed by themselves so mingled together that the earth could not be seen from the water, but they were moved because the spiritual word that was carried upon them. And the Pymander said unto me, dost thou understand this vision, and what it meaneth? I shall know, said I. And then said he, I am that light, the mind, thy God, who am before that moist nature that appeareth out of darkness. And that bright and lightful word from the mind is the Son of God. How is that, quoth I? Thus replied, understand it, that which thee seeth and heareth. The words of the Lord, and the mind, the Father, the God, differeth not from one from another, and the unison of these is life. Trismegistes, I thank thee, Pymander. But first conceive well the light in thy mind and know it. When he had thus said for a long time, and he looked steadfastly upon the other, insomuch that I trembled at his idea or form. But when he nodded to me, I beheld in my mind the light that is innumerable, and truly indefinite, a ornament or a world, that the fire is comprehended, or contained in by the most great power, and constrained to keep its station. These things I understood, seeing the word of Pymander. And when I am mightily amazed, he said unto me again, hast thou seen in thy mind the archetypal form, which was before then interminated in infinite beginning? Thus, Pymander, to me, But whence, quoth I, or whereof the elements of nature were made? Of the will and counsel of God, which taking the word and beholding the beautiful word in the archetypal thereof, imitated it, and so made this world by the principles and vital seeds of our soul-like productions of itself. For the mind being God, male and female, light and light, brought forth by its word another mind, the workman, which being God of the fire and the spirit, fashioned, and formed 7 other governors, which in these circles contain the sensible word, whose government or disposition is called fate or destiny. Straightway leaped out, or exalted itself from downward born elements of God. The word of God into the clean, pure workmanship of nature was united with the workman, mind, for it was consubstantial. And so the downward born elements of nature were left without reason, and they might be the only matter. But might be only matter. But that they might be the only matter. There you go. But the workman, mind together with the word, containing the circles and whirling them about, turned around as his wheel as his own workmanship, and suffered them to be turned from an indefinite being to an undeterminable end. For they always begin where they end. And the circulation or running around these, as the mind willeth, out the lower downward born elements brought forth unreasonable or brutish creatures, for they had no reason, the air-flying things, and the water such as swim. And the earth and the water were separated, either from side, or either from the other, as the mind would, and the earth brought forth from herself living creatures, as she had 4-footed creeping beasts, wild and tame. But the Father of all things, the mind being life and light, brought forth man, like unto himself, whom he loved as his proper birth, for he was all the beauteous, having the image of his Father. For indeed God was exceedingly enamored from his own form and shape, and delivered unto this his own workmanships. But he, seeing and understanding the creation of the workman in the whole, would need also fall to work, and so was separated from the Father, being in the sphere of generation and operation. Having all power, he considered the operations and workmanship of the 7. Now you'll see why that's important when we get to the emerald tablets too. But they loved him, and everyone made him a partaker of his own order. And he learningly and diligently, and understanding their essence and partaking of their nature, resolved to this pierce and break through the circumference of the circles, and understand the power of him that sits upon the fire. And having already all the power of all mortal things, of the living and of the unreasonable creatures of the world, stooped down and peeped through the harmony, breaking through the strength of the circles. So showed and made manifest the downward born nature, and the fair and beautiful shape of the form of God. Which when he saw, having it in itself unsatiable beauty, and all the operation of the 7 governors, in the form of shape of God, he smiled for love, as if he had seen the shape or likeness in the water, as a shadow upon the earth of the fairest humus form. And seeing in the water a shape like unto himself, and in himself he loved it, and he would cohabit with it. And immediately upon the resolution ensued the operation, and brought forth the unreasonable image of shape. Nature, presently laying hold of which so much love, did wholly wrap herself about it, and they were mingled, for they loved one another. And for this cause, man above all things that live upon earth is double, mortal because of its body, and immortal because of the substantial man. For being immortal, and having power of all things, he yet suffers mortal things, and such are subject to fate and destiny. And therefore, being above all harmony, he is made and become a servant to harmony, and being a hermaphrodite, or male or female, and watchful, he is governed by the subject to a father, that is both male and female watchful. After these things I said, thou art my mind, and I am in love with reason. Then Pymander said, this is a mystery to this day that is hidden and kept secret, for nature being mingled with man brought forth a wonder most wonderful, for he having the nature and harmony of the 7. From him, I told thee, the fire and the serpent, nature continued not, but forth with the 7 men, and all males and females are sublime, or on high, according to the nature of the 7 governors. They're talking about the chakras and spiritual energies, and so does the emerald tablets. We'll get into those the next book. After these things, O Pymander, quoteth I am now come into great desire and longing to hear. Do not digress or run out. But he said, keep in silence, for I have not yet finished this first speech. Behold, I am silent. The generation, therefore, of these serpents was after this manner. And the air, being feminine, the water desirous of copulation, took from the fire its ripeness, and from the ether spirit. And so nature produced bodies after the species in shape of men. And man was made of life and light, into soul and mind, of life the soul, of light the mind. And so all members of the sensible word continue unto the period of the end, bearing rule and generating. Hear now, rest of that speech, thou so much desireth to hear. When that period was fulfilled, the bond of all things was loosed and untied by the will of God, for all living creatures, being hermaphroditical, or male or female, were loosed and untied together with man. And so the males were apart by themselves, and the females likewise. And straightway God said to the Holy Word, increasing and increasing, multiply in multitude, all you my creatures and workmen, and let him that is endued with mind know himself to be immortal, and that the cause of death is the love of the body, and let him learn all things that are. When he has said thus, Providence by fate and harmony made by the mixtures and established the generations, and all things were multiplied according to their kind, and he that knew himself came at the length of superstantial of every way, substantial good. But he, through the error of love, loved the body, abideth, wandering in darkness, sensible, suffering the things of death. But why do they that are ignorant sin so much, that they should therefore be deprived of immortality? Thou seemest not to have understood what you have heard. Peradventure I seem to thee. I both understand and remember them. I am glad for thy sake, if thou understoodest them. Tell me, why are they worthy of death, that are in death? Because there goeth a sad and dismal darkness before its body, of which darkness is moist nature, of which moist nature the body consisteth in the sensible word, and the whence death is derived. Hast thou understood this all right? But why or how doth he that understands himself go or pass into God? That which the word of God say I, because the Father of all things consists of light and light, whereof man is made. Thou sayest very well. God and the Father is light and life, of which man is made. If therefore thou learn and believe thyself to be of light and life, thou shalt pass again into life. But yet tell me more, O mind, how shall I go into life? God saith, let the man endued with a mind mark, consider, and know himself well. Have not all men the mind? Take heed what thou sayest, for I, the mind, come unto men that are holy and good, pure and merciful, and that live piously and religiously, and my presence is to help unto them. And forthwith they know all things, and loving they supplicate and propitiate the Father, and blessing him they give him thanks, and sing hymns unto him, being ordered and directed by the filial affection and natural love. Before they give up their bodies to the death of them, they hate their senses, knowing their works and operations. Rather, I am the mind itself, will not suffer the operations or works which happen or belong to the body, to be finished and brought to the perfection in them. But being the porter and doorkeeper, I will shut up the entrances of evil, and cut off the thoughtful desires of the filthy works. But to the foolish and evil, and wicked, and envious, and covetous, and murderous, and profane, I am far off giving place to the avenging demon, which applying unto him the sharpness of fire, tormenteth such a man sensibly, and armeth him the more all to wickedness, that he may obtain the greater punishment. And such a one never ceases, having unfulfillable desires and unsatiable cups senses, and always fighting in the darkness, for the demon afflicts it, and tormenteth him continually, and increaseth the fire upon him more and more. Thou hast, O mind, most exceedingly taught me all things, as I desired. But tell me moreover, after the return is made, what then? First of all, if the resolution of the material body, the body itself is given up to the alteration, and the form which it had becometh invisible, and the idle manners are permitted, and left to the demon, and the senses of the body return to the fountains, being parts and again made up into operations. And anger and concupiscence go into the brutish or unreasonable nature, but the rest striveth upward by harmony. And to the first son is giveth the power it has of increasing and diminish. To the second, the machination of plotting of evils, and the one effectual deceit or craft. To the third, the idle deceit of consumptuance. To the fourth, the desire of the rules of the insatiable ambition. To the fifth, profane boldness and headlong rashness of the confidence. To the sixth, evil and ineffectual occasions of riches. And to the seventh, subtle falsehood, always lying in wait. And then, being made naked of the operations of harmony, it come to the eighth nature, having its proper power, and singeth the praises to the Father, which that things that are made. And they that are present rejoice and congratulate the coming of it. And being made like to them with whom it converseth, it heareth also the powers that are above the eighth nature, singing praise to the God in a certain voice that is peculiar to them. And then in the order they return unto the Father, and themselves deliver themselves to the powers, and becoming powers they are in God. This is the good, and to them that know to be deified. Furthermore, why sayest thou what resteth, but thou, understanding of all men, thou become a guide, a way leader to them that are worthy, that humanity or mankind may be saved. When Pymander had said this, he mingled among the powers. But I, giving thanks, the blessing of the Father, and rose up and enabled him, and talked of nature, and the nature of the whole thing seemed the greatest sight of spectacle. And I began to preach unto men the beauty and the fairness of the piety and knowledge. O ye people men, born and made of earth, which ye have given yourselves over the drunkenness and the sleep of the ignorance of God, be sober and cease your surfeit, whereto you are our Lord, and invited by brutish and unreasonable sleep. They heard me, come willingly, and one with accord. And then I said further, why, O men of the offspring of the earth, why have you delivered yourselves unto death, having power to partake of immortality? Repent and change your minds. You have together walked in error, and have darkened in ignorance. Depart from the dark light, be partakers in immorality, and leave and forsake corruption. And some of them that heard me, mocking and scorning, went away and delivered themselves to the way of death. But others, casting themselves down before my feet, besought with me that I might be taught. But I, causing them to rise up, became a guide of mankind, teaching them the reasons how, and by what means to be saved. And I vowed to sow them the words of wisdom, and nourish them with ambrosian water of immortality. And when it was evening, the brightness of the same began wholly to go down. I commanded them to give thanks to God. And when they finished their thanksgiving, every one returned to its own lodging. But I wrote in myself the bounty and beneficence of Pymander, and being filled with what I most desired, I was exceedingly glad. For the sleep of my body was sober, watchfulness of the mind, and the shutting of my eyes, the true sight, and my silence great with child, and full of good, and the pronouncing of my words, the blossoms of fruit of good things. And thus came to pass, or happened unto me, which I received in my mind, that is, Pymander, the Lord of the Word, whereby I came inspired by God with the truth. For which cause, with my soul, the whole strength, I give praises and blessing to the Godfather. Holy is the God, the Father of all things. Holy is God, whose will is performed and accomplished by his own powers. Holy is God that determineth to be known, and is known of his own, or that are his. Holy art thou, that by thy word hast established all things. Holy art thou, whom all nature is the image. Holy art thou, whom nature hath not formed. Holy art thou, that stronger than all power. Holy art thou, that art greater than all excellency. Holy art thou, who art better than all praise. Accept these reasonable sacrifices from a pure soul and heart stretched out unto thee. O thou unspeakable, unutterable, to be praised in silence, I beseech thee, that I may never err in the knowledge of thee. Look mercifully upon me, enable me, and enlighten me with this grace, those that are ignorant, brothers of my kind, but thy sons. Therefore I believe thee, bear witness, and go into the life of light. Blessed art thou, O Father, thy man would be sacrificed as thee, and hast thou given him all power. Right, so I'm going to make this probably a two-part thing. This is the third book, so we're going to go ahead and read the first sentence of it, and then I'm going to pause this, and I'll make a part two. That way people don't have to sit through this all. They can kind of sit through one sitting, and then when they have the time, they can sit through the next. But the glory of all things, God and that which is divine, and the divine nature, the beginning of things that are. God in the mind and nature and the matter, and operation or working of the necessity and the end of renovation. For they were in chaos, and infinite darkness, and the abyss of the bottomless depth, and water, and a subtle spirit, and intelligible in power. There went out the holy light, and the elements were coagulated from the sand of the moist substance, and all the gods distinguished the nature full of seeds.